Let's talk about, we euphemistically called this the grooming gang scandal. What we're really talking about is rape gangs. This went on for many years, and we know the story, don't we? That the authorities, the police, teachers, social workers, local councillors systematically turned a blind eye to the fact that there were these gangs of predominantly Muslim men of Pakistani origin sort of roaming the country or roaming their areas, preying on vulnerable young white girls, grooming them with drugs and drink, sexually abusing them, raping them. That went on for years. We're talking about potentially 250,000 young girls. You know, we all know the story. Now, it was last year when the latest of this lot got sentenced to, quite rightly, to prison sentences, and we all said, the nation said, look, we want a national inquiry into this scandal. We're all a bit national inquiry kind of weary. We have too many, but this warranted a public inquiry. Labour, many of us think because they're a bit worried about offending the Muslim community, because they want the Muslim vote, said, oh, no, we're not going to do a public inquiry. But I'll tell you what we'll do for you. We'll have 5 local inquiries in the local areas where this happened. A lot of us said, well, hang on a second, there's a lot more than 5 local areas. But anyway, if that's what it is, that's what it is. So 5 local inquiries. Today, quietly, with 45 minutes to go before Parliament closed for the break, Labour called off those local inquiries. So now, folks, we're getting no inquiries at all into the worst sexual scandal, one of the worst sexual scandals, criminal scandals this country has ever had the misfortune to witness. This is a disgrace, I would say. Let's find out what the Conservative MP Keighley and Ilkley, which is up near Bradford, Robbie Moore, thinks. Hello, Robbie, welcome to the show. Your thoughts?
Well, look, I'm infuriated by today's announcement by the Home Office. This goes against absolutely everything that they promised back in January earlier this year, where there was an announcement at the dispatch box that there would be 5 local inquiries with £5 million allocated to those inquiries. And then at the last minute, just before Easter recess today, the Home Office has effectively reneged on that. There was no mention at all from the dispatch box today about any local inquiries taking place. Indeed, they've watered down the provisions of the £5 million that has been allocated to not specifically be referencing local inquiries, but wider issues to do with child sexual exploitation. So incredibly frustrated by today, and it does not achieve my absolute mission of getting a statutory inquiry across the Bradford districts that I've been calling on for years.
Exactly right. And you know, what I think a lot of people will be enraged about here is Labour, I think, are playing politics with this. They're trying to sweep it under the carpet because it'll be an uncomfortable issue for them, because many of the local authorities where these abominations happen, where these terrible crimes occurred, were Labour administrations. And also, let's not beat about the bush, Labour does not like to offend the Muslim community because it relies on the Muslim vote. So a lot of us who are cynical about the wonderful world of politics believe that this is at the root of this, that Labour don't want to make a thing of this because they don't want to offend, shall we say, some of the noisier, more extreme elements of our Muslim community, which in itself is a disgrace. But Robbie, you know, as I say, I think a lot of people are kind of weary about public inquiries. I think we call too many of them. But this was an issue. This is one of the worst scandals ever to hit this country. The nation, the people of this country, we deserved a national public inquiry, did we not? But at the very least, for God's sake, don't abandon these 5 local inquiries you offered us. So we're getting nothing now. That's a scandal, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it's just infuriating. Look, we have been calling for a national inquiry specifically on the issue of rape gangs now. We envisage there being about 50 towns that are where concerns around child sexual exploitation, rape gang issues have taken place. I've been advocating for one to take place across Keighley, my constituency, within the Bradford district and across the Bradford district now consistently. And again, we are no further forward. It just infuriates me that the British state is consistently failing, whether it is national government or local government, those victims, those survivors. And when you represent an area like the Bradford district, where I fear that the scale of this issue of rape gangs, child sexual exploitation will dwarf that of Rotherham, of Telford, of Rochdale, and yet we have our local authority where they had the opportunity of voting on this very issue just a couple of months ago. It was voted down by the Labour administration. And then we have our national government not willing to step in and go against the local consensus. So we are stuck between a rock and a hard plate, where a local authority is saying we don't want it, and we have got the government not even willing to use the statutory powers that they have to force that local inquiry. And I'm getting sick and tired about this issue. I've been talking about this issue since being lucky enough to be representing Keighley since 2019. I think I've raised the issue about 40 odd times in the House of Commons chamber now, and yet we do not seem to be any further forward. The government need to do the right thing, step up now and back our calls for that national inquiry that focuses on areas like the Bradford district.
Now, Jess Phillips, she kind of made this announcement that the £5 million have been set aside for these 5 local inquiries, and they gave us some old guff about feeding that £5 million into fund locally led work on grooming gangs. What does that even mean? Now, Jess Phillips, as I say, made this announcement. She is the Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls. That job title, considering what Labour have just announced, it's almost a sick joke, isn't it? In what way does she feel that abandoning any sort of inquiry into what went on is safeguarding women and girls against sexual violence? In what way does she think that she justifies her job title here?
Well, again, this is just more frustration by this Labour government that we have. You know, they were forced to the dispatch box back in January on the back of a huge amount of public pressure to make some sort of announcement. They made an announcement back in January that £5 million would be allocated to having 5 locally led inquiries, but yet 3 months down the line, on the back of them initially promising that there would be an independent KC, Tom Crowther, that led the Telford inquiry, working the framework up that would then focus on these 5 little inquiries. And then today, literally, the last statement that came out from the government before the Easter recess, they've rolled back on how that £5 million will be allocated. They did not mention 5 locally led inquiries at all. And then on the Home Affairs Select Committee, which met just last week, we had Tom Crowther in front of us, and he said that he's had no or very, very little interaction with the Home Secretary on this issue, and therefore has not been involved in working up the framework. And indeed, Labour ministers and Labour advisors are going to be working up that framework themselves. This, to me, just stinks of more smoke and mirrors coming out from this government, and again, actually just goes against everything that they said that they would do back in January. And the worst thing about all of this is it has not got the victims and the survivors at the heart of what this government is doing. They want justice, and they want reassurance and trust to be reinstalled back in the system between them and the state. And when the state continues to fail them, that trust is further eroded. And that's what infuriates me even more, particularly when I am having those victims come to me at surgery meetings in Keighley wanting this inquiry to take place. I only hope the government do the right thing when we get back after Easter and reverse this decision that they reluctantly are not coming to.
Yeah, well, I know that my audience will share your fury. I do too. They're playing politics here. They're sweeping this under the carpet. And frankly, the way they've done it, with 45 minutes notice before the government went in, or the Parliament went into recess, is just a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Robbie, we'll keep in touch on this one. Thank you very much for your time. Robbie Moore there, the MP, Conservative MP for Keighley and Ilkley area of Bradford. His constituents, some of his constituents are the victims of these rape gangs. You know, no wonder he is so energised.